Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has reportedly told White House officials that the bipartisan criminal justice reform bill, supported by the president, is unlikely to get a vote before the end of the current Congress. That is according to new reporting from the Washington Post. One McConnell advisor says it is because the Republican leader doesn't have enough time and is more focused on other things. However, a Republican donor and key White House ally described McConnell as a, quote, Jeff Sessions style lock them up and throw away the key kind of guy who just doesn't like the bill. Joining us now, a member of the House Administration Committee and co-sponsor of the Criminal Justice Reform Bill, Republican Congressman Mark Walker of North Carolina.
Can I say the most important part of the bio was left out?
What is that?
A fellow native of the Redneck Riviera.
Oh.
And a little Roll Tide, too, we can talk about later.
Roll
Tide.
Tide
All
as
right.
well. But you were in Pace and Milton growing up.
That was home.
16 years.
Panhandle, Florida. Yeah, that's my dad moved us there. I was 4, lived there till I was age 19.
Oh, good
so,
Lord.
yeah.
You guys will talk for
That
hours.
is exciting.
Good.
My dad
Good.
went to Milton High School.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, we'll need to talk
We'll do it. Look forward to it.
So talk about this bill. A great shot at having a bipartisan bill go through, but Mitch McConnell doesn't
Yeah, why
like
won't it fly?
Yeah, listen, bipartisan, we hear that all the time, but this is a place where it's legitimate. Speaking of growing up, my father was a pastor. I can go back and with him being a chaplain, sitting on the bunk beds of some of those prisoners, especially at Christmas time. And I think back to that as far as how that impacted me. Drove me all the way to Congress, and recently, I think about 4 or 5 months ago, I reached out to Cedric Richmond. Now, I was chair of the Republican Study Committee, the largest conservative caucus in Congress, partnering with Cedric Richmond of the Congressional Black Caucus. If he and I can come together, put this op-ed and get this working together, why in the world can't Mitch McConnell and these guys vote on this thing? This is preposterous.
Yeah.
What's the
What's your
what
reason?
else?
What was your suspicion for why Mitch won't do it?
If I had a reason, I'd bet all the bourbon in Kentucky on it. But I think the ultimate reason is because there's a stubbornness there that you have to operate on his timeline sometimes. I don't know that it's sinister, that he's against specifically pieces or components of this. I hope it's not. I know that I've heard some reports and read some things that they are, but I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, this is really a giant roadblock because don't you see the potential for this sort of bipartisan effort to go even further, to really make an impact?
I think it's a humanitarian, and what better time when you think about the 2.3 million children that have parents that are incarcerated, male and female, that's crucial. Go back to 1980 when you had about 700,000 or 800,000 incarcerated. We're up to 2.3 million. That's more than Russia and China combined. That's a problem. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. This is something that we're at the threshold of being able to fix.
Is that a record we really want, right?
No,
we really
absolutely
want
not.
to be the country that locks up more people than anybody.
Willie Geist.
Congressman, it's Willie Geist up here in New York. It's good to see you this morning. I want to ask about something that's going on in your state right now, which is that the Democrat there has now rescinded in that race, that congressional race from the midterm elections, his concession, and he wants this election opened up again. What's your view of what's going on there, where there appears to be, or there are allegations of at least, of fraud on absentee ballots that favor the Republican?
Yeah, I believe the premise of your question is spot on because there are concerns with the absentee. Specifically, I believe the county is called Bladen County. There's an abnormal amount of Republican votes when, if you look at my district and other districts, usually the Democrats are leading in absentee ballots as well as early voting. So I do believe there's an issue, and what we've seen is a nefarious gentleman who's been part of this campaign from the beginning. I don't want to put too much on the candidate, Mark Harris himself, because sometimes you don't always know who some of these, in this case, the thug Republicans, scrupulous people are that are trying to embed themselves into your campaign.
Even the head of the North Carolina Republican Party, Dallas Woodhouse, has said if they can show substantial likelihood that there was fraud, he's open to a new election. Is that something you'd be open to?
I believe if Republicans, and I'm a proud Republican who have jumped up and down at voter fraud in problematic areas, I think to be consistent, if you show any kind of contentious or any kind of behavior such as this, I think you have to be willing to look at another election.
So, would it be wise, Congressman, at this point for Mark Harris, the Republican, to come out and say the kinds of things you're saying? At least let's have a look at this, having his opponent having withdrawn his concession. Shouldn't we be hearing from Mark Harris
It
now?
probably would be best, but I do want to give a little leeway. When this is your first entry into the political arena, you've got all these things spinning. You're not a seasoned politician. You're trying to figure out which is the right way to go at this point.
All right, Congressman Mark Walker, thank you so much for being on.
Sure.
Good to have you on the
All
show.
right.
Still
Great.
ahead.